How we doing, guys? Welcome to the player ratings. Newcastle against Arsenal. I've still got a massive smile on my face, but listen, I don't think there's a single Arsenal fan that hasn't woken up this morning with a big, massive smile on their face. Listen, a win's a win, but sometimes the way you get a win makes it even more enjoyable. And, you know, when you look at some of the results that we've had at Newcastle over recent years, it makes this one so pleasing. And the fact that we scored in the 96th minute just kind of adds to that enjoyment. But do not get this mistaken. This was not a lucky win. This was not a game that we did not deserve to win. Mikel Arteta took the handbrake off massively. And if it wasn't for Nick Pope, we would have scored 5 or 6 goals in this game. I've not seen a team go to St. James's Park and dominate in the way that we did for a very, very long time. Newcastle are a very physical side, very strong, very dominant. The home fans are some of the best in the Premier League. It's a very, very difficult place to go. But they weren't able to do anything. They weren't able to bully us. They weren't able to dominate. And we completely and utterly controlled the game. I think there was a 10-15 minute spell where we kind of went off the boil, or we kind of let the decision to not get the penalty affect us a bit. And it kind of took us a little 10-15 minutes to get our head straight and kind of go again. And by that point, Newcastle had scored as well. But after that, it was just the same as the first half when you look at the second half. Maybe not so many clear-cut chances as we did in the first half, but enough to have scored. And there was one move in particular, Jurriën Timber on the end of a header with an unbelievable pass from Martin Zubimendi, which started with Eze, and the little intricate link. It was just such a joy to watch. And Nick Pope, once again, unbelievable save. But listen, it was a complete and utter dominant performance, and I've said that. And it's nice that we were able to do that, so we're not having to sit here to talk about the PGMOL and the referee and VAR and all the rest of it, because at the end of the day, to overturn that penalty decision was an absolute scandal. I've seen some people trying to justify it and talk about how, you know, Nick Pope got a slight toe onto it. The reason why he got a slight touch onto that is because Victor Gyökeres got the ball first. He went round Nick Pope. That's the only reason why. It wasn't like one of these tackles where the keeper gets there at the same time as the attacker and he gets that faintest touch onto the ball and you can say he's won it first. Gyökeres has got the ball first. He's gone to pull it past him, and that's the only reason why Nick Pope's got any form of a tiny, minuscule of a touch onto the ball. And then he's wiped out Victor Gyökeres. What more do you want me to say? I had to listen to Howard Webb after we had a penalty awarded against us against Brighton. Now, you will all remember this situation where João Pedro headed the ball onto William Saliba's head, and Saliba's momentum took him into João Pedro. And a penalty was awarded against us. And we had to listen to Howard Webb sit there and justify why that penalty was given. Come on, Howard. Come and justify it now. Please. Because you lot at the PGMOL are just so contradictory. You're so out of your depth and so out of touch. It's actually laughable. And I'm getting bored of it now. I've sat there and spoke about Jarred Gillett. 4 out of our 6 games this season he's been involved in, either officiating the game or VAR. 4 out of 6. One of those was against Liverpool, where he wasn't involved because he can't be involved because he's a Liverpool fan. So you take that out of the equation. Only one game we've played in the Premier League this season where they've looked at it and gone, nah, don't put him on the Arsenal game for this one. Why has he been involved in so many of our games? Why? And people will say, well, he gave the decision to begin with. He gave the penalty. But yet, he had the opportunity to go to the monitor, to look at it, go over it, and be able to say to VAR, now, do you know what? I'm happy with my original decision. I see what's happened. I see why you might have called me over. But there's no clear and obvious error. I'm very happy with my decision. We move. And that's what everybody's been told. Clear and obvious error. The fact he stood in front of that monitor for nearly 4 minutes, there was no clear and obvious error. Love to hear the audio on this. I love to hear the audio. But, you know, and then other people were saying Gabriel got lucky with a handball towards the end of the game. No, he didn't. It's not handball. The law clearly states if the ball deflects onto the arm, it's not handball. Gabriel gets the ball. It ricochets back off Alanga into his shin, onto his arm. And then some people are saying, why is his arm up there? It's in an unnatural position. No, it's not. It's not an unnatural position. Anytime you slide for the ball, your arm is up here for balance. I have never seen anybody slide in like this. Oh, let me keep my arms down. I'm going to be like a fish. Just keep my arms down here. Do you realise how many bones you will break if you don't actually put your arms out for balance? So it's all well and good showing still photos and going, look where his arm is. Oh my, what an injustice. Arsenal were so lucky. No, they're not lucky. It's simple facts. When you slide in, your arm goes up for balance. It's a risk with the rules if the cross comes in and there's no deflection. I know that. There's a risk. But the ball deflects. Move on. People will talk about, was Gabriel lucky because of the, forearm push into the Newcastle striker's shoulder area that kind of went up near his face? And Gabriel does that all the time because of the way they do these kickoffs, and he protects the ball, or the player going towards the goalkeeper. And it's kind of a push in the chest area, which is, it's not a sending off offence, but I think his arm just kind of went up with emotion. And listen, there was nothing in it at the end of the day. Even ex-referees and whatnot have said that it's not a sending off offence. It's probably a yellow at most if it gets dealt with. But that's it at the end of the day. And if we're talking about handballs, let's talk about the Martinelli shot when Guimaraes has turned his body like this and his arm's out and it deflects off his arm. Now, nothing deflects the ball onto his arm. He turns his body away from the ball and his arm's out here. That's unnatural. That's a penalty. Why don't we talk about that? Could be here all day. I'm meant to be doing player ratings. But yeah, listen, let's go and get into the player ratings. In goal, David Raya, I'm going to give him an 8. It was a solid performance. Again, it's a game where we didn't have loads to do, big saves to make or anything, but it was solid. And his distribution and everything else and handling is solid. Right back position was Jurriën Timber, and he gets a 9. How much more do I need to speak about this guy? He's the best right back in the Premier League. It's not even a debate. It's not even close. Nobody comes close. It's as simple as that. Jurriën Timber is just a phenomenal player. Simple. 9, as I said. Christian Mosquera. Feel a little sorry for him. Gets a 6, but let's have it right. He gave away the corner for what was Newcastle's goal. Sloppy back pass, comes off his shin, goes out for a corner. It happens. These things do happen in the game. We should be dealing with the corner situation and not allowing the short one and allowing the cross in the box. And Gabriel needs to be stronger with the, challenge and everything else. So, apart from that, he had a solid game. Let's be honest about it. He had a solid game. What else went wrong for him? But how amazing is it that at halftime, we've got the capability of pulling him out of the firing line and bringing on William Saliba? Do you know how mad that is? Next up, we have Gabriel. I'm giving him a 9. But because he got the winning goal. But his overall play was not one of his best games. Let's be honest about it. Let's not sugarcoat it. It wasn't one of his best games. He was involved in so many different things. But because he got the winning goal, he gets a 9. It's as simple as that. Colourful, he gets a 7. I thought it was a quiet game for him. I thought he'd done some good things, but there was also some sloppy things and whatnot. But listen, not going to be overly critical. He gets a 7. Martin Zubimendi, he gets an 8. I think listen, if you watch the game again and you watch the way he plays and the way he occupies a lot of space to allow Eze to do what he's doing, if you understand football and you watch the game and you can actually analyse with a pair of eyes, you can actually see what happens in a game. Maybe not at the time when you're watching a game live because it's all 100 miles an hour and your emotions are all over the place. Well, I know what it's like. But when you actually go to look and analyze, you can see just how good people are. And he was coming up against a midfield that were apparently going to bully him. Not happening. Simple. Declan Rice, he gets an 8. It was just a solid performance. That's the Declan Rice I know. He was a little deeper than usual. Not so more, far advanced and whatnot. But it was just perfectly balanced. And he didn't really need to be more advanced and doing things in that kind of 8 position, shall we say, because Eze was occupying all those areas and doing it. So he didn't need to. But it was solid. And he is just such a good player. And when he's like this, he is unbelievably good. Next up, we have Bukayo Saka. He gets an 8. Played 70 minutes. I see people saying, why is he coming off? We knew why he's coming off, because he's still coming back to full fitness. He was never going to play more than 70 minutes. That's pretty obvious. Saka himself will know that. There's no issues with that. But I felt his overall game, first half in particular, is very good. And, I noticed he got a lot more one-on-one situations, not doubled up as much, although I did see Anthony Gordon on multiple times sprinting back to try and double up with Dan Burn on him. But Newcastle were not able to do that as frequently because there's other areas of the pitch they're worried about with Gyökeres and Eze and everything else. Just saying. Very simple. In the middle of that, Eberechi, listen, that's one of his best performances. If it wasn't for Nick Pope, he would have had a couple of goals. I thought he was exceptionally good. Just the things he does in and around the box, the little movements, it's just so lovely to see. It's so nice. Did I even say what I gave him? 8? Yeah. Listen, he's just quality. He could be a big, big player for us, man. Difference maker. That's simple. On the left-hand side, Leandro Trossard, I'll give him a 7. I still think that he's more of an impact sub than a starter, but he wasn't the worst and he wasn't the best. Could have probably scored in that first half when he smacked the post. Could he have done better? That's subjective, but I'll give him a 7. And then Victor Gyökeres, I'm going to give him an 8. I feel for an hour at least, he was a constant problem. And that's probably one of the best I've seen him play for us. The first half in particular, and the first 15, 20 minutes of that second half, he was really good. Could have had a goal in the second half. Again, the pass by Eze, where he slipped him in and gets the first shot blocked. And then he gets the chance to get his shot away and he slips and kicks it onto his foot that he slips. But I'm starting to see more of what he's going to be capable of doing. I got no problems with that performance. I thought that was a solid performance. Very, very solid performance. When you're looking at the substitutes, William Saliba solidifies things. Just makes it all very comfortable at the back. And that's exactly what he did, so he get an 8. Martin Odegaard, not on the pitch for long, but I'm giving an 8 because he was so good when he came on. And he started to pin Newcastle back, and he was the one that was breaking lines. When Newcastle decided to set up in a 5, play a low block, drop deep and all the rest of it and just settle for what they had, he was the one that was able to penetrate. And Martin Odegaard, when he is feeding a 10 and not being fed the ball as the 10, is a better player. Again, analyse, watch, see with your eyes. And it's very clear. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Eze and Odegaard if it interlinks in this way. And there was a pass that Odegaard did as well in injury time for Miles Lewis-Skelly. I'll tell you something, that pass there, if Miles Lewis-Skelly would have actually got onto that a little quicker and put the ball across and Martinelli has a tap in, I'll tell you something, that pass was exceptional. Mikel Moreno, I'll give him an 8 as well because he gets a goal. And look, when he comes on and plays in that position of a number 9, another attacking player, he just comes alive. He's phenomenal. Miles Lewis-Skelly, Martinelli did what they had to do, but not long enough to mark or make a contributing, mark on the game. But there we go. That's the player ratings. Mikel Arteta, I'm giving him a 9. Let the handbrake off. Did everything. And did you see Mikel Arteta literally 89th minute. So before the fourth official has put the board up for how much injury time there's going to be, Mikel Arteta was already on his case. How long? How long? And he'd obviously said to Mikel, 8 minutes. And was it 8 minutes? Yeah, it was 8 minutes, sorry. And Mikel was already relaying the message to the players before the 90 minutes was up, saying 8 minutes. This is how long it is. And he was telling them, push on, get the win, get the win. That's not a manager playing with a handbrake on. Let's remember that. So yeah, listen, there we go. That is it. That's the player ratings. You know what to do if you haven't already. Let me know in the comment section what you think, you agree, disagree, etc. And if you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and I will see you lot soon. I'm out of here.